So ons eerste gas, Ulrich Fobian. That's an interesting surname. En hy is assosiaat kommersiële departement by Weavent en Weavent Prokureurs. A big welcome.
Baie dankie, dis lekker om hier so te wees.
Nee, dis lekker dat mense so vroeg opstaan om te kom kuier. So just for starters, just give us a little bit of background about yourself and what you specialize in.
I'm an associate, like you said, at Weavent and Weavent in Pretoria, a hop, skip and a jump from your great studios here in Ferry Glen, in the commercial department, and I do a lot of labor law and social media law.
And are you on social media yourself?
I am, yeah.
Twitter, Facebook?
Twitter and Facebook, but not so much Twitter at the moment. Every now and then I feel the urge to go back on there. But Facebook is the constant. I think we all have that problem where in the mornings we scroll down the timeline and we don't know why we're scrolling down the timeline, but we just do it anyway until we have something else that takes us away from that.
And it's really weird how it exploded. You know, I mean, 10 years ago, if someone told you this is what we're going to do on our phones, we wouldn't believe it. But now, just on Facebook, are you friends with your boss on Facebook?
I'm friends with some of my bosses who are on Facebook.
Oh, you see, and that's where the danger comes in already.
Yeah.
We're going to discuss some of the mistakes people made. But let's say social media, we know it's relatively new, the whole field. And still, in terms of, you know, the law or concrete guidelines, hasn't been formalized. Where are we standing with that?
Yeah, well, just on that, the law is always always a little bit behind the new technologies that come up. Like, for example, social media. But I think one thing that we should point out is that social media law isn't in essence just a new field of law. It's an extension of media law. So you could call it media law 2.0 if you would like. So what that means is the Constitution, the right to freedom of expression, protection of your privacy, your dignity, that's all still protected by the Constitution and applies to social media law as it did to media law.
So I know there's discussions going on to control it more by government, and I know that Emma Sadler, she's like an advocate for that as well. To say, do you think it's good in terms of our constitution to limit or to control it that much?
Yeah, we need to control it. We need to have that interplay between privacy, the right to privacy, and to protect our dignity as well as to express our freedom.
Would you say it's actually feasible to have that kind of control over social media posts in terms of where you're going to draw the line? Where will it count for private individuals, and where will it be for company purposes? Is it actually feasible?
Yeah, it is feasible. And again, your starting point has always got to be the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. And that is to protect, to have that interplay. In America, which I think we'll get to that a bit later, but in terms of foreign law, one of their main rights is the right to freedom of expression. That's an absolute right in the First Amendment to their Constitution. And for us, we've got much more of an interplay between the two. And the feasibility of that is to protect expression, artistic expression, while still protecting the right to privacy of companies as well as individuals.
When we're talking guidelines for social media, which type of platforms are included in those guidelines?
Well, in the guidelines specifically, like I said, the laws are already there. So the new guidelines that are being created will maybe refer to platforms, but the ones that have been established, and again, the Constitution and other legislation, don't maybe particularly refer to a guideline, but they would cover platforms such as Facebook and Twitter, Instagram and YouTube, which are the four biggest in our country.
So if you, and that was Henry's question, actually, like WhatsApp.
Yeah, if we maybe can stand still there, what is seen as social media? What kind of platforms? If we can have like a brief explanation on social media.
Yeah, well, social media is platforms where we get to interact with other people and other organizations. So it wouldn't, in essence, be WhatsApp. That's more your closed group. You're just dealing with friends. It's a public expression. So in some element, there is a publication that you make, whether it's retweeting, resharing. So that's an important element to remember.
And it's public. The moment you publish it, it's actually public. And that's where the social media content
It's a lot of artists that's very unhappy when media just takes a photo, let's say, of the wedding and say, but it's a private affair or whatever. But the moment you post it, they can just use it.
It becomes public. They may be infringing certain rights, but that's where the issue comes in. Once someone posts something, it's public. And if it's defamatory or if it's a picture of someone who's naked, for example, I see a lot of people like to post pictures of their children. And I
Very
would caution
dangerous.
against that, yeah. Then it's public, yeah.
Sure. I know there's also a case now about like a student that used the K word in a WhatsApp group. But someone takes a screenshot of that, and then you're in trouble. You can't say it was a private, and what happened to the woman in Swaziland, the naked pictures.
Sure.
So
Very
now all of a sudden
unfortunate.
you can't. It's still public if someone shares
Still
it.
public. I think WhatsApp is something that's caused a lot of confusion.
Yeah,
Is
because you don't know-
what is it? Social media? Is it not?
Yeah.
And I think what's important there is that screenshots, like you said, can be taken and it can be reposted. Are you liable if you share it, retweet it? Emma Sadler, as you refer to it, most certainly say yes. Her book, Don't Film Yourself Having Sex and Other
Yes.
Legal Advice, is a great one to read. And yeah, if you reshare it, retweet it, you could be liable. Yeah.
And it's so difficult if you take some like the last scandal, South African one. There's so many people. It's basically impossible to stop it, and the internet never forgets that that screenshot is never going to disappear.
Ulrich, if we can maybe stand still and focus on some of the practical examples, but also tips when it comes to using social media, what would they be?
Well, we spoke about Emma Sadler just now. She always refers
Trouble.
to... Yeah, she's great.
Very good.
She speaks about putting your comment on a billboard. And that if you're posting it, retweeting, sharing something in South Africa, and you're putting it on a social media platform, it's as if it's on a billboard on the highway. So maybe 3 people will see it because it's at night, or maybe millions of people will see it and it will go
never know.
viral. So you have to consider that when you're posting your cute picture of your 2-year-old who's naked, or you making a comment. I think one of the tips which I can say is, I don't know if you've heard of the expression hangry, when you're hungry and angry. I think it's a real thing, as well as being sleep deprived, which a lot of us are from our jobs. In one of those moments, I think it's a very bad idea to try and post something online, or to get annoyed with something in the traffic and you're hungry and you're rushing to a meeting, and then you take a snapshot, make a few comments with a few asterisks in, or you just write out the words and post it. Rather take a step back, maybe talk to one of your friends about it or write it down. But social media is not your digital diary, and it shouldn't be seen as that.
That's a good lesson. I also believe in a 24-hour rule. If especially when you're mad, and working for a company like us, I can be mad at my bank or even my cell phone provider. But if I'm mad at
you
them, I
hinting
can't
at
call
something?
them.
No.
I can't call them out on social media because
No.
they can advertise on the show.
Right.
So there's so
Yeah.
many things to think about. If we look at South African law and compared to international laws, are America are they in front of us? Is America?
Is
Yes or is what?
maak nie saak nie.
Yeah, nee.
Oh, Americans. Are American lawyers?
Lekker, I like it. No. There are 1 or 2 international laws and policies and so on, but if we're talking about so international law is global, United Nations. Foreign laws are different jurisdictions, and you're now speaking about America. Are they ahead of us? It's a bit of a difficult question. I think we should rather say is they're focusing on different aspects, like we said earlier as well. One of their fundamental rights in the First Amendment to the Constitution is the right to freedom of expression. We've got a much more I was also about to mix my grammar, but we've got an interplay between the freedom of expression, right to privacy, right to human dignity, and we balance those. So in South Africa, we protect the plaintiff more, the person who lodges an issue with someone who's posted something online. Where in America, you have a lot more freedom, especially to retweet what maybe Donald Trump or someone else has said. And over here, you need to be careful. Every time it's retweeted, reposted, shared, it's republication.
Sure.
So let's just get back to the freedom of expression. Where does that fine line? You want to just say what you want to say. If you don't like Jacob Zuma, you can say, I'm not impressed with our president, but you can't call him a baboon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That fine line. In terms of, you can really get in trouble.
And maybe if we can use an example of that with the
Like fees.
universities now, the fees must fall and everything. I mean, where's that fine line? Because that's actually a very good example.
And at looking at your Facebook page, you went to TUT.
Yes.
So, I mean, all of that must be...
I'm actually still there. I want to finish my master's, but I'm still waiting for everything.
He knows it and he doesn't even know you.
Yeah, no,
That's crazy stuff.
That's already
Look at that. Yeah.
Block.
Dis lelik, né? Yeah. So looking at that comparison, again, in our law, right to privacy and the right to human dignity versus the right to freedom of expression, we go to the supreme law of our land, the Constitution. And that's where we find specifically the answers to that question. And we also find what is described as hate speech and obviously propaganda for war, incitement of imminent violence, and advocating hatred based on race and other gender, religion, etc. And that's also contained in the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act. And so that's where you would start with looking at that fine line. And there is a fine line, and we are not in America, and we can't treat it the same as they treat it there, which is difficult for us because a lot of our media is influenced by the American media.
So if you look at Fees Must Fall, let's say you started that whole trend, but the next moment, like it happened here, it went violent. And now it's like on the brink of what I see it as a mini terrorism. You know, you can't go burn buildings. But now all of a sudden you want to say, I didn't know it's going to get violent. Can you trace it back to say, guys, this is what you started and you're in trouble now?
Yeah, you'll have to look again at those balancing rights, the three that we've spoken about: human dignity, right to freedom of expression, and the right to privacy. And then you'd have to take each statement that was made, each repost, retweet, share, and see how that relates to that, and if it is inciting imminent violence.
If someone says something very racist, and then tag me, you know, so it wasn't even me, but all of a sudden my Twitter handle, my name is part of that tweet.
Well, yeah.
You know, am I in trouble? How do I get out of a situation like that?
You can be. The question I think that you're asking is if you are tagged in a particular comment, can you also be liable in a defamation case? And can you be sued? And the answer is yes.
So you must probably take that tweet, you know, and on top of it, distance yourself from it. Say, listen, I was tagged in this, but I distance myself from this view. Or because I mean, it's impossible to untag your on Facebook. You can untag yourself, but on Twitter you can't.
Yeah,
you know, your name's there.
I feel like you're both starting to sweat here, but I think one thing that's important.
I'm going to go through my stuff now.
Yeah. But remember, we can't sweat now. We'll get a bit shiny.
Yeah. We can't sweat.
But I think something that's important to remember there is that's something you could raise as a defense if you didn't know that it was there. But as soon as you could have known, what did you do about that tag? And are you checking your privacy settings as much as possible, specifically Facebook?
Yeah, because you can actually go and say certain things can't be posted. Or I know for an example with Instagram, you can actually decide who's following you, etc., etc. Block them. If you have a look at job interviews, can social media be used against you when it comes to social interviews?
Or for you?
That can also be.
Yeah.
Is it possible?
So again, social media to a large extent is public. To talk about privacy or absolute privacy on social media is a very dangerous thing to do, I'd say. We've spoken about that a bit earlier. So whatever is public, whatever has been published, what your privacy settings are not stopping, or where you can't stop it from being public, for example, Twitter, there it can be used, can be looked at, can be referred to in an interview.
If you, for example, posted something, that means that it's made public. If you go and you delete it, will that then seem as if you try to prevent it going out, or can something still be used against you?
And that can't be deleted.
Well, okay, to answer the first question, once something is published, it's published. So you need to be very careful. You may take it out a minute later, but if it goes viral in that minute,
you have a problem.
Daar's 'n bietjie van 'n probleem daarso, and then you'll need to deal with that.
I want to ask one thing. The penalties. If we look at what happened to Justine Sacco, she was like the first scandal internationally with the tweet to say, listen, I'm going to Africa, hopefully I don't get AIDS. Oh, I can't, I'm white.
Yeah.
And she landed here and it was chaos, you know. And she was fired. If you look at Penny Sparrow, she got a fine. Is that at this stage the biggest penalties for you know, being guilty of, let's say, hate speech or inciting violence? Is no one will be jailed, but you can get a fine?
There are a lot of different remedies or a lot of different findings that can be made. So, yeah, fine or damages to the plaintiff, to the person. So if it's a civil matter, civil defamation versus criminal, then you could, if I'm claiming against you, then we could ask for damages and the court would make a finding on a certain amount. Could also ask for an apology. And
that's also
and an interdict, stopping someone from doing something or asking them to remove that post that has been posted. Those are other
certain steps can
avenues.
Just a quick answer. Your company can fire you if you bring the company into
jeopardy.
Yes, yeah.
So
that can happen. Yeah.
Because I know also internationally, guys thought they on their private Twitter, and he was the guy handling like Henry.
Groot FM.
Groot FM's
Not
Twitter.
always, I must say that as well.
And
just
even the guy
debate.
on News 24 that used the F word, and it was so funny, his own expression or his own opinion. My last, just a tip here. I mean, you're the expert here in terms of the legal side. I just want to say what saves me, and that's why Henry can't understand why I haven't been fired.
Give me your tip.
I just whatever I want to say, I turn it into a question. Then it's not an opinion; it's a debate. So I would say, do you think our president is wasting our money? And then people start talking. I'm not saying he's just a waster of money. You know what I mean? So immediately, the moment it's a question, it's you asking a question.
Every question you're going to post from now on, I'm going to question.
It's a good one.
Be careful even with questions and how you phrase them.
Yes.
I must say that.
So I can get in trouble.
You could get in trouble. And also what other people then comment and post underneath that question could get you into trouble as well.
Taxels.
Yes,
thank you so much. Ulrich, I'm going to stop you there because you just stopped me tweeting. Thank you so much. I've learned a lot.
It's been great.
And hopefully we'll see each other again.
Cheers.
Cheers.